Brother Ron, and welcome to We All Be News Radio and TV, the news-free Dixie for the 21st century. Welcome everybody, thank you, I appreciate it. I feel so much love in the air. Can you feel it? Can you feel it? Okay, I feel it. My name is, what's my name? My name is James Melvin Lunceford, but my friends call me Jimmie. I'm Jimmie, all right? I was the first high school band director in all the Memphis city schools, but my story starts June 6, 1902. I was born all the way down there in Fulton, Mississippi. I was raised in the rarefied air of Denver, Colorado. My music teacher was the one and only Wilberforce Whiteman, who was the father of Paul Whiteman, who they say is the king of jazz because Whiteman must be in charge of everything. Okay, is that how it works? But his father taught me. So I went back down south to get my college education down at good old Fisk University in Nashville, Tennessee, where I fell in love with the one and only, the very beautiful Yolanda Du Bois, whose father is Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois, who is the father of American sociology and the first black man to earn, or black person to earn a PhD from Harvard University. Unfortunately, he did not agree with our social experiment, so we had to break and part ways. He arranged a marriage with the Harlem Renaissance Poet Laureate, County Cullen, who is more in love with his best man than his woman. You can hear that from me. I'm just saying. I'm just sipping tea over here. I'm just saying. You can hear that from me. But anyway, I finished up my teacher education up at Columbia College in NYC. Came back down here to Memphis to teach at Manassas High School. I was hired to be the football coach, the baseball coach, the basketball coach, the track coach, the history teacher, Spanish teacher. Did I say Spanish teacher? English teacher? Yeah, English teacher. Gym teacher, anything but a musician or music teacher. So I went to the principal. I said, Principal, we need to have a band for good old team spirit and school morale. He said, by golly, Jimmie, I think you're correct. So I became the first high school band director in all the Memphis city schools when I started the Chickasaw Syncopators. And we was a very popular local dance band as well. So back in wait a minute, I'll give myself more credit. I need to get the receipts out here for y'all to see. I was the first person credited with teaching jazz studies at a formal educational situation or institution in any place in the world. So they were learning some Satchmo, I had to break it down, Chicago 5s and 7s. So that's what we were teaching. Like, rhythm is my business, okay? So in 1930, I took my best high school students and buddies from Fisk University, and we started probably the greatest, no, we did start the greatest swing band of all time in the 30s and 40s. No less authority than my good old friend Glenn Miller. See, he was Larry Bird to my Magic Johnson. See how it works? How I know about Larry Bird and Magic Johnson? I'm just telling y'all. You know, Glenn Miller said, he said, you know what? He said, Duke is great, Count is remarkable, but Lunceford tops them all. See, I'm Jimmie Lunceford, and rhythm is my business. That's why he said that. See, white band leaders wanted to be me, and black band leaders wanted to beat me at the Battle of Bands. You're right? So I had the #1 band of all the land for African Americans. By 1934, we was the house band at the Cotton Club behind Duke Ellington and Cab Calloway. Was the #1 attraction at the Apollo Theater for a whole decade. We had put the show in Showtime in the prime time before there was a television on the 80s Lakers. So we were one of the first bands to have tailor-made suits. We did choreography, that's dancing. We told some jokes, playing the dozens. We also sang. We sang a lot. So we had a full show. You get that all for $1.25. Sometimes we had upwards of 40 to 50,000 dancers at one event. So we also had a distinctive sound, the Lunceford beat, the 2-beat. Because most things were about the 4/4, but we had the 2-beat. That drive you hear in Stax and 3-6 Mafia, all that stuff y'all like. I started that, okay? I started that. James Melvin Lunceford Jamboree. But I also owned airplanes. I was an aviation pioneer. Back in 1940, I brought my first airplane. It cost me $20,000 in 1940 money. That's a lot of money, right? Okay. So I actually crashed the plane once, and I walked away from it, and I still died anyway, but I walked away from the crash, you know. My wife also owned and flew her own airplanes, Crystal Tully Lunceford, who taught English at Booker T. Washington High School for a while. So I never forgot to give back. When I used to come to Memphis and sell out the church auditorium, I would do free concerts and musician clinics at Manassas High School. I started music education programs for kids throughout the country to combat juvenile delinquency. And also, before I died, I was looking for real estate to start a retirement home for retired African-American musicians. But I died anyway. So I died at the age of 45, July 12, 1947, up in Seaside, Oregon. Now, Oregon is an interesting place because Oregon is the only state in its constitution. When it became a state back in 1859, it outlawed black folks from living and working and owning property in Oregon. They outlawed slavery too. So yay, Oregon, thank you. But we were trying to get some hamburgers of Seaside, Oregon for a gig, and they refused to serve us. I said, I'll be down. And they said, well, we don't have no hamburgers for you guys. We got beef sandwiches. Now, this is before the days of Arby's, because they didn't have the beef. They had tainted meat. So they gave us some tainted beef sandwiches. My band got sick, but I ended up dropping dead while signing autographs before the concert. And I was just 45 years old. They had 2 funerals for me. One up in New York. My friends like Pearl Bailey and Bill Bojangles Robinson and Sammy Davis Jr. came out. And then one for my fans in Mississippi. Not Mississippi, excuse me, Memphis, the city of good abode. My black and white fans came out by the thousands. And they put me back here all the way back in the cemetery back in July of 47. So hopefully my legacy is not dead with me. Y'all in for a treat. Y'all gonna wake up this morning. This gonna be our alarm clock right here. Y'all getting sleep out of tornado warning and stuff.
How? No. Is it on? Can you hear me out there?
Yeah, yes ma'am.
How could I possibly know? How could I have conceived that you'd hurt me so? I'll never have believed it. I was a fool, but you were cruel, just for a thrill. You changed the sunshine into rain. just for a thrill. You made my whole life with pain. To me you were pride and joy. Oh, but to you I was merely a toy, a plaything you could toss around at will, just for a thrill. You made my life one sad song, just for a thrill. You let me alone. Although you're free and having your fun, to me you're still the only one. For you make my heart stand still, just for a thrill. Although you're free and having your fun, to me, you're still the only one. For you make my heart stand still, just for a thrill. You did it, you did it, you did it, just for a thrill. Thank you. Y'all are so wonderful. I just love all of you.
Well, of course, now I wasn't with the band when he first came because, you see, Joe had, as I said, he had been in California, came back and brought this Gonzalez, Bertha Gonzalez. So when Louis came, Bertha was playing with him.
I see.
At the Gardens.
Mm-hmm.
But Joe brought Louis over to Dreamland where I was playing the first night he was there and introduced Louis to me. And what Louis had written Joe before when he saw a picture, said, "Tell Miss Mill I like her." So when Joe brought him over there, I took one look at him, you know. I said, because I didn't like the way he was dressed, you know. And I said to myself, "You like me?" Then I get up.
How was he dressed?
Well, just like the typical New Orleans fellas were dressing then, but you know, the Chicago fellas dressed differently.
Yeah. What was he? He wasn't a city
Slicker.
no.
No, he wasn't dressed. In fact, none of the New Orleans fellas dressed like the Chicago fellas.
Didn't he have bangs?
Oh, that's what you want me to say. You want to know what the hairstyle was? Yeah, well, they're wearing bangs now, so it couldn't have been so bad, huh? Yes, he had bangs that I hadn't seen because they're little bangs right out in front. And none of the rest of the fellas had bangs. They had the hair all slicked back, you know. So getting rid of those bangs was my first project. We did get together.
Well, when did you first hear Louis play, and how did? What did
I first heard him play, and when I joined the band. See, Joe asked me to come and join the band again.
I see.
Well, frankly, I didn't know enough about jazz to know who was better than the other one, or which one was the best, or what. It all sounded all right to me. And naturally, too, since Louis was playing second trumpet to Joe, I couldn't distinguish too much. But Joe himself told me one night, he says, "You know, Louis plays more trumpet than I'll ever play." He said, as long as I keep him with me, he won't get ahead of me. I said, yeah. So then I started listening to Louis as best I could, you know. You know, I never told Louis. Joe told me that until 1954.
What did he say?
Huh? Oh, boy. He was very hurt. Yeah,
because that was his big idol.
Yeah. I didn't tell him then because I wasn't even, Louis and I weren't sweethearts or anything. Joe just happened to tell me that. But when Louis and I started putting together and got married, then I remember Joe telling me that. That's why I insisted on him quitting the band and going out and leaving Joe. No, I didn't tell Louis why, because if I'd said to Louis that Joe said you were better than his, he would have gone and asked Joe. Joe would have said no, he didn't say it. I'd been the bad one. Right. So I didn't say a thing, but I just started working on it. I told Louis my excuse was I didn't want to be married to a second trumpet player. I wanted the first one.
That's very
go marching in, oh yeah. Oh, when the saints go marching in, oh yeah, baby. Oh, I wanna be way in the number. Oh, when the saints go marching in, oh yeah. I thought when them saints, oh yeah, baby. Go marching in, when them saints go marching in there. Oh, I want to be the number daddy. When old big fella call a number, oh yeah. When them saints come marching in with red beans and rice. Oh, yeah.
All right, I made a fool of myself. Make a point. Lil Hardin Armstrong is the reason why we know about Louis Armstrong. Let me tell you this story. I finished, like I said, she moved to Chicago, right? She was a piano player for his mentor named King Oliver, one of the top brass cornet. This is not a trumpet, it's a cornet. It's over 100 years old. This is a 100-year-old cornet. You know, I got it because I'm an artist, I draw, I do artwork. This is Jimmie Lunceford, my interpretation of Jimmie Lunceford on my chest. A woman in art school about 20 years ago gave me this trumpet or cornet in exchange for a drawing. So I guess it was a good trade-off. But she was playing for King Oliver, his mentor in Chicago. When King Oliver called Louis Armstrong up from New Orleans, he was kind of like a country bumpkin. According to Lil Hardin Armstrong, he said he was little. He was anything but little. That boy he was so country. He had bangs in his hair. He had too tight clothes on. And there's a song called Tramp with Carla Thomas, one of our other honorees, and Otis Redding. Listen to the song Tramp. That's how she was describing Louis Armstrong when she first met him. But the thing about Louis Armstrong was the fact that one day, Lil was talking to her boss, King Oliver, his mentor. And King Oliver told her, you know what, Lil? Lou would never be great. He is a great musician, but he don't believe in himself. He would never leave me. He would always be the second fiddle, or the second trumpet, or the second cornet, because he have no confidence in himself. And then you know how some of you women get like, let me upgrade him, let me level him up. I can see some potential in little Louis now. Let me see what I'm gonna do. So this is what she did. She forced him to fire himself from King Oliver's band. She got rid of his bangs, got rid of his tight clothes, married him, upgraded him, tailor-made suits, got rid of the bangs like I said, sent him to New York City to get more famous. He ended up playing for the greatest jazz band in all the land, this back in the early 20s,
Jazz back then was like the rap today. Rap is the most popular music today. Jazz was the most popular music back in its time. So she sent him up to Roseland Ballroom to play for the great Fletcher Henderson Orchestra back in 1924. The Roseland Ballroom was recently closed down by Lady Gaga. She had the last concert a couple years ago at the Roseland Ballroom. That's how old that ballroom is and prestigious it was. But she called him back. Okay, Louis, it's time for the bigger leagues. So she called him back to Chicago and she said, I got a gig for you, Louis. We're gonna play the Dreamland Cafe. So they played the Dreamland Cafe. We came back at a big old banner said world's greatest cornet or trumpet player. And so why I'm saying all this woman saw potential in this man before he believed in himself. She saw the masterpiece in the rough. Not only did she do that for him, but she also helped organize some of the most important music recordings of all time. Look up the Hot 5 and Hot 7 recordings. This is the birthplace, the Rosetta Stone for modern American music. A black woman from Memphis helped create that. She helped organize the arrangements, copyright the music. She helped with vocals. She played piano. This woman was a force when women were not considered to be forces to be reckoned with in jazz. This is early jazz. This woman stood her ground with the men. So she made Louis famous. He ended up moving on, they moved on, all right? Because Louis Armstrong was married 4 times. There's another thing you gotta know. We don't teach history the right way. We don't tell the ugly truth sometimes. Louis Armstrong was married 4 times, right? His second wife was Lil, but his first wife was Daisy Parker. She was a prostitute. And that made Louis a what? All right, whatever, all right. Smoke weed every day. No, I'm just joking. He did smoke weed every day. That's another story. It's not for here. This is school. He smoked weed every day, but that's not a school. It's not a. Y'all talking about Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg's birthday was yesterday, but Louis was smoking weed before Snoop Dogg was even before his parents were born, even before his grandparents were born. Okay, let's get another story. But he never forgot about what Lil did for him. So when he died in July 6th of 1971, he allowed her to ride in the family car for the funeral. So on August 27, 1971, she was performing at a concert in Chicago. She performed the St. Louis Blues for Louis Armstrong on TV at the piano, and she died. There's several weeks after he died. So that's how close they was. But you talking about Beyonce and Jay-Z, this was the real black power music couple right there. Louis Armstrong and Lil Harder Armstrong. So give a round of applause for the ancestors. Lil Harder Armstrong.
We're going to do an old song by Johnny Ace that went to school here, right here. He was from Memphis, Tennessee. Okay. You want me to do it now? Hello? You want me to do it now?
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
It's called Pledging My Love. You can find it on your phone. Okay? And I know some of y'all in love with each other, or you have friends somewhere else that you love. So you just think about them when you hear this love song, okay? All right. Forever, my darling, our love will be true, always and forever. I love just you. Just promise me, darling, your love in return. Make this fire in my soul, dear, forever burn. My heart's at your command, dear, to keep love and to hold. Making you happy is my desire, dear. Keeping you is my goal. I'll forever love you the rest of my days. I'll never part from you and your loving ways. on now. You're going to tell this story too. I like that corner right there. That's the amen corner. My heart said you're commanded to keep love and to hold. Making you my happy is my desire, dear. Keeping you as my goal. I'll forever love you the rest of my days. Forever hold you in your loving ways. Oh yeah! Thank you.
Greetings, family, and welcome to another wonderful infotainment edition of The Art of His Thinks. June is Black Music Month. It's National Black Music Month. Today's date is June 9th, 2018. Right here, I'm on ground zero for the final resting place of the late, great Johnny Ace. The late, great Johnny Ace was born June 9th, 1929 in Memphis, Tennessee. Now, a lot of y'all out there wondering who was and is Johnny Ace. Well, he was born John Marshall Alexander Jr. to a traveling preacher, one of 11 children. His house, his family home, South Memphis in Soulsville, not that far away from the family home of Aretha Franklin when she was born, still stands to this day. Why does Johnny Ace matter? Well, Johnny Ace is arguably the first rock and roll star. He's the first rock and roll star. That's right, boys and girls, scholars and laymen. Not Elvis, but the late, great Johnny Ace. See, what's interesting about Johnny Ace is he's like one of them cats that he was very popular during his lifetime, but as time marches on, he's forgotten about. And a lot of the people who love his music, they are no longer walking this earth.
Ron Hurd. Get up out of bed. Let's go. Let's go. Ron Hurd. That's the word. Get out of bed. Give me a jingle. My number 051. Get out of bed. Let's go. Don't be afraid. This is Herb Smith calling you. Herb Smith. All right, I know you're famous and all that kind of stuff, but let's go. Get out of bed.
And that was the late, great Johnny Ace with his posthumous hit, Pleasure My Love, which came out after he passed away at the tender age of 25 from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Probably one of the worst tragedies in American music history. And this is your host, the artivist, R2C2H2, and welcome to another wonderful, informative, edutaining edition of We All Be Radio. And tonight's topic, of course, is remembering the late, great Johnny Ace, rock and roll's first star and casualty, with our featured and honorable guest, the Dr. James Salem, who is the author of probably the best source on the late, great Johnny Ace. I mean, it's one of the best books I read on anybody as far as a musician's biography is concerned. He is the author of the late, great Johnny Ace and the transition from R&B to rock and roll. He is a wonderful professor of American Studies at the University of Alabama. This guy, no doubt, has great taste in music and pop culture. And it's just an honor to have him on. Is Dr. James Salem, are you there?
Hey, I'm right here.
Welcome to We All Be Radio, sir. It's truly an honor, like I said before. I think you did an extraordinary job on really capturing not only the mystery of who was Johnny Ace, but also the environment that created such a person in the first place. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I appreciate your comments.
And I'd like to ask you, first and foremost, what got you started on Johnny Ace? Why did you pick a book to do about Johnny Ace?
Well, I was always, what I was doing, I was going to write a book about what I called the season of 1954-55. And it's that, like the school year, 54-55, that starts like right after Brown versus Board of Education and ends around the Montgomery boycott. In that season where rock and roll happened, James Dean youth movies happened. It was a dynamic period, in my view, invention of American youth culture, the rock and roll breaking out, black artists breaking out into the white mainstream. That was my intention, and I thought that what I would do is write the middle chapter first. Mm-hmm. And if you're doing 54-55, then the middle is like December 54, January 55, and that was going to be my Johnny Ace story. But then he just took over the whole. I never did write that other book. I just wrote this one.
Wow. I mean, go ahead, sir. Sorry.
I was lucky to get that inquest proceedings of his death. Nobody had ever seen that before. That was they were in cartons or crates in some warehouse in Houston, and I'd been trying to find everything I could about him. I went to Houston many times, and the secretary for the Justice of the Peace in that jurisdiction took mercy on me, and after I came back home to Tuscaloosa, she talked her boss into going to the warehouse, and they found those old files, and she sent them to me.
Oh, wow. How was it to get those files in your hand? I mean, the actual files were sent to you?
Well, they were photocopies of the originals, but I thought I'd died and gone to heaven, and most of those are in the book of the inquest and the depositions from Big Mama and the other people in the room. But that was finally proof of, for example, when he died, because everybody's always making him die on Christmas Eve.
Right.
Because that sounds a little more, I guess, pathetic. But then, of course, it turns out that it was Christmas night when he killed himself backstage in that North Side dressing room at Houston City Auditorium.
Now, I know you did a great job of, I guess, capturing the spirit of the times. I mean, describe how, to me, in the book, you did a great job, because when I tell people about Johnny Ace, a lot of people don't know, of that age, don't know who he was. But when I tell them that, in order to get Johnny Ace, you had to book B.B. King and Bobby Blue Band and his own acts. They let you know what type of star he was. Can you just tell us, the magnitude of a guy like that dying that young? Go ahead.
No, well, Hank Williams died about 2 years before that.
Right.
He was a little older. He was 29. But
that's real old right there.
Wow. But country music had a fit over that kind of loss. Mm-hmm. Williams was about as self-destructive, or maybe even more so, than Ace was. But the thing about Johnny Ace, to me, the sad part of the story is that he got right to the top of the mountain, and then he could not survive to make the big money that was coming when all of a sudden rhythm and blues turned into rock and roll.
Mm.
And black performers got on the big white radio stations in heavy rotation, and they were going to get on television. They were going to get in the biggest clubs and venues in the country, and they were going to make some big money finally. But this guy just made the little money.
Hey, you did a great job of describing like the life of a musician. Like, I guess they worked the Chitlin circuit, a black performer.
Right.
Like you said, a one-nighter sometimes would be like 800 miles apart.
Well, I know they are.
Obviously yourself, right?
I know that was just incredible, and I got most of that. You know, Johnny Ace never sat for an interview.
Mm.
Nobody ever did an article on him. Not at the time. There were even very few photographs of him. But I talked to a lot of people who knew him, a lot of people who were involved with him, and then I read everything I could about those people who were doing what he was doing at the time. And the best account of being on the road as a black performer is Charles Sawyer's book about B.B. King.
Mm.
Now, I do make some distinctions in the book about the difference between King and Ace. B.B. King was, he was like a plantation owner. He had a bus. He controlled the bus. He hired the band. He fired people.
Mm-hmm.
He was in charge of everything. When things went bad, he had to fix it. I mean, he was the man.
Mm-hmm.
And Johnny Ace was just the headliner.
Wow.
And who just did his thing and didn't have any responsibilities, probably because he couldn't have fulfilled any. But he was an altogether different guy. But I think that, like calendar 1954, he could have performed as many as 350 to 60 one-nighters in that year. I mean, he had no home. He never did have a home once he left Memphis.
And it's funny, like you say all this, and he was just 25 when he left this world. I keep on thinking about the people who were at 25. What if Duke Ellington died when he was 25? Nobody would remember Duke Ellington.
I know.
Or Miles Davis or Quincy Jones or none of those guys.
Everybody's best work came a whole lot after that, didn't it?
Yes, sir. And also I was thinking about, because when I was reading his story about his how he grew up in a Kojic home and his father was a minister,
Mm-hmm.
and I was thinking about how it parallels, Sam Cooke life, who also, he's from the Delta. Sam Cooke's from Clarksdale. His father was a minister. And it seemed like, Johnny, he just totally rejected that lifestyle once he grew up, whereas Sam Cooke, he actually started in gospel music and then crossed over. What do you think about they both ended up dying tragically young.
Yeah.
But Sam Cooke had a chance to really cross over. You think that Johnny Ace, if he had lived a little longer, would have been as big as Sam Cooke or Ray Charles when they crossed over?
Well, I really don't know because so much of his popular reputation rests on Pledging My Love,
mm-hmm.
and so much of Pledging My Love rests upon the fact that he died playing so carelessly with his life.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a kind of romantic image of the musician, especially the black musician, I'm afraid to say, in white culture.
Yeah, you see it in rap even. I look at Biggie, the Notorious B.I.G. or Tupac. You see it today.
Yes, you do. You do. So, whether he had the stuff, whether he was going to stick, he was depressed, he was fat, he had his hair conked. It didn't look like he was doing very well in that the period, say, 3 or 4 months before his death. And he was this guy was, as they say, he was rode hard and put up wet. playing so many one-night stands, but that's how they did it in Houston with anything to do with Don Roby. He was never going to give them any money out of record sales or royalties or songwriters or anything. If they wanted to have a life, if they wanted to make a living, all of his people had to make it on the road with personal, with live performances. That's how the system worked. And it kept them away from him and out of his hair, and it gave them some money to live on, but essentially they were having to hustle it on their own.
I mean, it's incredible because, you know what, I said Sam Cooke earlier, but obviously Sam Cooke had some business sense because he owned his own publishing.
Yeah.
And unlike, you know, what Johnny Ace went through, I just wanted to ask you as well. I think it's interesting because let's see how he started off. I know I'm stationed in Memphis as we speak, and we know Johnny came out of Memphis. He went to Booker T. Washington. Memphis has such a mythological place as far as American culture is concerned, not just black culture, but also if you think about the fact that Tennessee Williams did his first play in Memphis.
Right.
And you know, Richard Wright, you know, black author, one of the greatest of the 20th century of any color, grew up in North Memphis. And you think about, you know, Booker T. Washington, where, you know, so many phenomenal musicians came out of Booker T. Washington, or you look at Jimmie Lunceford from Manassas High School. I mean, he comes out this rich heritage.
And you haven't even mentioned Elvis yet, have you?
I haven't mentioned Elvis with the Hughes. And I mean, I'm asking this: what effect did Johnny Ace have on Elvis? Did he have any type of influence over Elvis?
I know that. Look, I can't prove it. But I know that Elvis haunted Beale Street, where they knew, and I like this. Someone told me they knew him by face. I mean, they didn't know who he was, but he'd been around there. He bought his clothes at Lansky's, you know, and he'd been around. He was bugging them about the clubs. He was always trying to get in. I mean, Elvis was like black churches better than he liked white churches. But I'm pretty sure that Elvis saw Ace perform at the Mitchell Hotel, or at the Club Handy maybe, that was down a floor. I'm just pretty sure that he did. And then, of course, then the irony is that Elvis puts out Pledge of My Love is the B-side of his last record.
Oh, wow.
And and Ace's last record, the A-side is Pledge of My Love. So I think there was a connection there. Ernest Withers, the photographer, said that Johnny Ace was a lookup for Elvis. I mean, it's somebody that he had to have been fascinated by and with if he were interested in music. And he, I forget how much older he was, 8 years or 10, I forget now. But enough so he could be a lookup for Elvis.
Yeah, I don't think it's funny because they're like different sides of the same coin, so to speak. Here you have a black man that sound white, you have a white man that sound black, and they both from Memphis, one from South Memphis, Johnny Ace, the other from North Memphis.
Yes.
Yeah, Tupelo. And they like the same. I mean, you got. Yeah, go ahead.
And the people were both. I mean, Johnny's father came from North Mississippi. And so did Elvis's people come from Mississippi. The interesting thing, the real reversal, is that the Presleys lived in project housing, and the Alexanders, Johnny Ace's family, were said to be a substance family. The father had a steady job, worked at the Army Depot, and had a couple churches on the weekends. So they were.
Only in America, right?
Huh?
Only in America.
Only in America.
I mean, like, so how is like were you able to find out about the connection between Johnny Ace and Legacy?
Man, I was, now throughout the years, I heard that my dad had a child, out of wedlock, of course. It kept surfacing. The rumor just kept going throughout the years. And I tried maybe about 10 or 15 years ago to see if I could find anything on her or whoever it was. And I could not. Didn't have a clue, didn't know where to start. And as I got a lot more familiar with internet as the years went by, I started doing some research, and I'm trying to see how I came about Legacy as opposed to her father, which would have been Johnny Ace's son. But somebody mentioned to me, I guess, that Legacy was the granddaughter. They read somewhere where she said that she was a granddaughter of the late great Johnny Ace, and so I looked it up. Read her bio, and in that bio it did have something pertaining to her being the granddaughter of Johnny Ace. So after that, I did my best to contact her. I was in touch with her producers and people that represented her, and of course they had me sending information on myself, driver's license to make sure I was who I said I was, and that she would get in touch with me. Well, never happened. I'd call, different people out in California, never was able to reach Legacy. She wouldn't call me back. So she was here 2013 at the Mississippi Boulevard Church doing a concert, a Christmas concert. And so I'm thinking to myself, okay, I'm in the media, I run cameras. I knew a couple of people at Mississippi Boulevard, so I got them to kind of get me back in the room where she would be after service, and got a chance to meet her, and things went very well, and that was really about the size of it. We've not been in touch since then, but once I did reach out to her on Facebook, and she responded, and that's about it. Nothing since then.
Wow. So what would be like a hope that, if you could talk to her right now? I mean, I guess you could talk to her right now.
Yeah, man,
what would you like
to say? Love it. I've mentioned to her that we love her. We're here if she ever needs a sightseeing tour when she comes to the South. Let me know. If she wanted to stay with me, she's welcome. She's family. And I think as we get older, I tend to reach out towards people that are not close, because time is so short. Tomorrow's not promised. And I just want her to know that we love her. There's nothing we want from her but her love. And that she has family here back in the South.
How about she do like a album dedicated to her grandfather? Would be nice, like a cover of his songs.
Awesome. it would really be awesome if she did that. I love my dad. I didn't really get to know him 2 years on this earth while he was alive, and he died when I was 2. So I didn't get a chance to experience anything further with him, except, throughout the years talking to Myrtle and my mom and just different people that knew a lot about my dad. It's always so interesting. But if Legacy could do that in memory of my dad, I would absolutely love it. And I will mention that before Natalie Cole did this duet with her dad, those were my desires. Even before she came up with it, I had desire to sing with, one of his songs, and he do the same thing really that Natalie's father did. But it never came to pass. So it's still one day. Maybe I will do that. Never know. It's possible.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So.
Were you able to ever talk to anybody that worked with your father on a professional level, from musicians or producers?
No, I have not. I've attempted to reach out to several people, and I was always too late. Dollar short, day late, was going to reach out to B.B. King, and that person is still, of course, around, but I've not been able to had much success with reaching out to him. But other people that I felt would have some vital information about Johnny Ace, they're deceased now.
But some people left behind some evidence. I don't like Professor James Salem wrote the book, The Late Great Johnny Ace, and I know I talked to him before. He was kind of surprised that your father was not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame,
right?
And the blues, in the Hall of Fame for that matter, for his contribution.
So I mean, like, you know, talking to you now, I feel like you really do have a lot of pride and honor and respect for your father and his legacy. What do you like to see done in order to, like, you know, get him more recognition?
I would really like for his music to be played more here in the South. It's pretty popular overseas, but here in the South where he grew up, you know, I would love for them to acknowledge him more. Even the Hall of Fame would be great. I don't know that much about it, how one would get a family member's name put out there for that, but I just feel that with the things that he contributed to some of the local artists that have gone forth, his name should be in the Hall of Fame, and anywhere else that's due him. I think that it would be great for him to receive that acknowledgement.
I definitely agree with that. I think a lot of people agree
Yeah.
with that as well. So what about, like, some of the stuff is the family in control of his intellectual property?
That's a hard question. Now, my brother and I, before he passed, we were able to get some things where we would receive finally royalties. A lot of things have gone unnoticed where other people control them, and I think it should be part of the family, but I'm just really not sure how to go about getting that done. I really don't know, the industry and how it works. So, I mean, I've been trying to do some research the best I could, but I'm just not familiar with it. But I know he wrote a lot more songs than he was given credit, that I would just like to see him with the credit of those songs. I know that Dick Roby said that he wrote some things, but there's no way that he could write such a soulful songs that my dad wrote back in the day. There's no way. I don't believe that. My aunt had some papers where Johnny would write music, the actual copy of the music itself, but throughout the years we've had people to contact some of the members requesting pictures and this and that, as far as writing information on Johnny Ace to go down in history, and they kept those items, his music handwritten, as well as some of the pictures of the family and Johnny growing up as a child. Those things are all gone. It seems like they were all taken from us. So I don't know. I'm just here talking with you, Ron. No,
it's important. I mean, because we get the word out. It's powerful. Like, your words create worlds. Like, you can create a different reality than what you used to. Right. Just by speaking, truth to power. Mm-hmm. So I just think it's very important people understand that, his family, you lost him at a young age. I mean, you were just 2 years old. He was just 25 years old. Right. And also, y'all lost not only him, but also his intellectual property. They could help create generational wealth. Mm-hmm. But speaking of a legacy, what about how have your children and grandkids responded to?
My children, I have one son, and he's now teaching my grandson about his grandfather, which would be my grandson's great grandfather. And I mean, the family is excited to be able to say, it's like when they go to different concerts or they're in places where Johnny Ace's name is mentioned, and they can actually say this is a family member. They are excited. It seems like today young people are into a lot of older music. I heard somebody say once that the world never changes. It just recreates, or, it goes around as a boomerang. Nothing is new under the sun. Mm-hmm. So the music, even though it's back in the 50s, 40s and 50s or whatever, young people today are still playing that type music because things just go around and people love what they, were not able to hear because they weren't born back in the 50s. So they have an interest in it. So my nieces and nephews that are under me are so overwhelmed and excited to know that Johnny Ace is their relative.
To star Deborah Gleese Barnes, how you doing today?
I'm fine. How are you?
That's great. It's truly an honor to honor you for being a true queen and truly beyond category talent as you are for the 2019 Jimmie Lunceford Jamboree Festival Homecoming Court. Just want to get a few words. How would you describe yourself?
Oh my. Well, I love music. That's one of the ways that I would describe myself. And I'm very honored to have a great mother and father who brought me up into the music world and in church. And I just feel blessed. You know, my husband, we got together many years ago, around 1980 is when we married. And we have several children who are musically inclined and are doing well in music. So I just love music. That's been my thing.
So you definitely are very modest about your beginnings. You come from a very gospel singing background, correct? Like you got a lot of great gospel singers in your family?
Well, the gospel singers, of course, in church. And in my family, on both sides of my family are musicians. And so I came through Lincoln Junior High, and Mrs. Pulliam was my teacher there, and through Carver High School. Then I was blessed to have opportunity to sing with Ray Charles at the age of 20.
Wow.
And my husband and I were part of many gospel aggregations after we met, and before that I was always in the competition for music through the city schools. And I have just always loved music, but not only gospel. I love classical, jazz, R&B. I just love all kinds of music. And so that's what I, would share with people young and old, to listen to it all, even country and, all kinds of music. Rap, all of it, I think, has a place in our society, and there's something for everyone. Everyone doesn't like the same thing, but some can enjoy, something of everything that's out there.
So you gotta tell me about the Ray Charles story. You're a Rayette, right? You part of that group.
Yeah, I was with the Raylettes, and when I was younger and in college at University of Memphis State, then I was a part of the Push Ensemble. And when I first went there is where I saw my husband there, but there was also a young lady there named Trudy Coran, and her name now is Trudy Coran Hunter. And Ray Charles came to one of our Push meetings one Saturday morning, and he heard Trudy sing. And she's marvelous. She sang at my husband's funeral. She is excellent. So Ray wanted her to be in his group, the Raylettes. And while she was there, only 2 or 3 months after she was there, he needed a soprano, and Trudy recommended that I come. He called me at my house, and because I wasn't 21 yet, he had to get permission from my mom and dad that I could go and sing with him, and they said yes. And I was on my way at 20 years old to meet him in Portland, Oregon, and I sang with him for a couple of seasons or more. And I had opportunity to be with him on the Saturday Night Live show and during the beginnings, and it was in 1977 when I started there. And there's also a film of us singing with Gladys Knight and the Pips. So I was able to travel all over many places in the world, Italy and Hong Kong, and just so many places, Australia, Hawaii, and all over the United States. And so it was a very great experience. Ray Charles was a genius of a musician, and I would just stand behind the stage before it was time for the Raylettes to come out and just be in wonder and just be so blessed to hear him sing and play. And it was just a great experience, during that time.
Interesting. You're so humble. Like you just say it like it's like, nothing, it was a piece of cake. But like, how did you discover your voice? I'm curious, how were you able to discover your voice? What age did you had something?
As far as I know, I started singing by the time I was at least 5 years old. Like I said, I would go to church, and there was a lady there named Grace Conley. She was an operatic type of singer in the church, and so she was over our choir, and she nurtured me. Of course, my mother played the piano, and she sang with the Reverend Kenneth Whalem's Mother's Choir. So she was, she loved music, so she set me out to take piano and voice lessons when I was very young. And so I just, it's just been nurtured and encouraged that I sing. And I remember singing His Eyes on the Sparrow when I was a little girl, about 5 years old. That was one of my first songs.
Do you have any favorite singers or anybody you like?
Oh my goodness, yes. Dionne Warwick was one of my first favorites. Nancy Wilson. Now Anita Baker. I mean, Aretha Franklin tops, you know. I have so many singers. Leontine Price, you know, just so many people that, and even, you know, male singers have really influenced what I love and enjoy, which is just wide ranging. From rock to just everything, and it's just so many. But Nancy Wilson was one of my very first ones that I really enjoyed, and of course Dionne, in her early career, I really loved her. Roberta Flack. Yeah, I just have albums, and when I was grown and my children found out that I loved Roberta Flack, they just showered me with Roberta Flack CDs, and Donnie with her, Donnie Hathaway. Yeah, so they were very influential in my young life, you know.
Excellent. Who's the greatest musician you ever worked with, or singer?
Oh my! Of course, Ray Charles. You know. Charlie Rich, he was one that I sang with Gail Jones Murphy and Company from here in Memphis, and we worked with him. I've worked with Tremaine Hawkins. You know, we've been on stage together. We've backed up many people in the industry. Jesse Dixon, you know, in the gospel community. Lawrence Matthews, just so many people. Because my husband was a great singer, and so that afforded me an opportunity to, you know, work in the studio. Sessions with him, and it's just so many, I can hardly think of all of them, but we have been just associated and had great opportunity to work with a lot of different people.
So what advice would you give to young or aspiring singers today on pursuing their dreams? Or musicians, period?
They should definitely, you know, pursue their love. They should find out what it is that they really enjoy. Piano or flute or saxophone or singing, and the parents should see to it that if they can't afford individual lessons, that they would place these children in community groups in the school and in the community, and so that they can hone their gifts, and they've got to practice and just love what they do and spend time, you know, learning about their instrument and about the history of what's going on. This has really helped me with Jimmie Lunceford to know what a great person that he was, and what a historian that you are, Mr. Hurd. And I tell you, it's just, you know, you just can't be your best without giving your all to it. So this is what I would, you know, say to the young people and to those close to my age, that don't give up, keep at it, and you just never know where it will lead and where it will take you.
Thank you, 2019 Jimmie Lunceford Jamboree Festival Court Homecoming Princess. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your knowledge, your time, and your passion with us. The words of Great Gailton, we love you madly. Keep on producing and pushing.
Thank you.
Yeah. Good afternoon, boys and girls. Are you having a good time? If you love jazz music here at Bonanza, say yeah. If you love Memphis music here at Bonanza, say yeah. This is the part of the show. Give the band, give the lovely Overton High School band a give our lovely MC. This is a part of the jam session. Jimmie Lunceford was a fabulous, phenomenal jazz musician in the city and around the world. And so we are Memphis musicians that are trying to keep the spirit of Jimmie Lunceford alive. But we're not going to do it by ourselves, okay? We're going to give you some words to one of his special songs. And we want you to participate with us, because that's what the legend does. It teaches so that it can live on. Yeah, boys? Yeah! So we're going to tell you, the band's going to play, Ekpe's going to do percussion, we got our horn section, Deborah and I are vocalists, and we're all going to do some dance steps. But we want you to tell us, take what you do is how you do it. Can you do that? Okay, we're going to do it. Take what you do is how you do it. do it. Take what you do. It's hard to do it. That's what gets results. Your turn. Take what you do. You sound so good. Give it to the band. What you do, it's hard to do it. Take what you do, it's hard to do it. Take what you do, it's hard to do it. That's what gets results. Your turn. Now I think I need this side over here. Y'all give it up for yourselves. Give it up for yourself. We need this side. Take what you do. It's hard to do it. Take what you do. It's hard to do it. Take what you do. It's hard to do it. That's what gets results. Your turn. Oh, take what you do. It's hard to do it. Take what you do. It's hard to do it. Take what you do. It's hard to do it. That's what gets results. Take what you do. It's hard to do it. Take what you do. It's hard to do it. Take what you do. It's hard to do it. That's what gets results. That's what gets results. That's what gets results. Jimmie Lunceford, y'all. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's right.
Rhythm is our business, business sure is swell. Now if you're feeling blue, rhythm's what you need. If you got rhythm, you should succeed. Rhythm is our business, rhythm is what we sell. He's the drummer man in the band. Toya, he's on the drums in the band. Oh, when he plays, tricks and takes the organ.
Oh, yeah.
In the band. Oh, when he plays up that scale, a ski that do that
This is the Jimmie Lunceford Jamboree Festival Week. It's the 3rd annual Jimmie Lunceford Jamboree Festival Week. And this is actually a concert, it's a jazz sonocracy concert dedicated to the memory of Phil Joyner Jr., who was a great, exceptional human being and also a great music educator. So, I mean, I think Maestro Doggett is definitely representing that legacy well. Give him a round of applause for Maestro Doggett. And without further ado, I think y'all need to hear this lesson from one of the people that knew Maestro Phil Joyner Jr. very well. His one sister, the beautiful Sister Joyner. Share some words of encouragement and about your wonderful brother.
You all sound amazing. I am Patrice Joyner, sister of Philip Joyner Jr., your amazing music teacher. I'll be brief, but I want to take this time to tell you all some things that I know he would have wanted you to know. Music was a huge part of his life from an early age. Our parents played all types of music in the house, from big band to classical jazz, R&B, soul, blues, everything. He started playing sports and music in middle school. He was voted most outstanding athlete for track and field, and he was a powerhouse football player. But he had a football injury in high school, and he focused on his music. He started playing trumpet in the marching band, and he then realized that he had a gift. Gift, a natural ability, or a talent. All of you have one. Every person has one. And at some point in life, you figure out what your gift is. While most teenagers back then were listening to popular R&B music on the radio, Mr. Joyner was listening to classic jazz, Chick Corea, Duke Ellington, Freddie Hubbard, Miles Davis. That's the music he played on his stereo in his bedroom, and it really got on my nerves. Of course, I preferred the R&B. He studied every note. He never cared what other people thought about the music that he listened to, because for a teenager, that was very different. A football injury at high school ended the athletic career, so he continued to focus on his music. He became even more passionate about his gift. He was in the marching band as well as the jazz band, which was citywide and led by Overton High School's band director at that time, Jim Terry. He bought his first trumpet, and I was not allowed to touch it. Music became his passion. He lived it, he breathed it, he slept with the trumpet, he ate with the trumpet in his lap, and he disrupted the household until 3 a.m. in the morning practicing. He was perfecting his craft. It became his life and helped him to fulfill his dreams. He went to college on a music scholarship, graduated, and returned here to Memphis to start the next chapter of his life. He learned to play many instruments, strings, keys, brass, and more. He became the piano man in the lobby of the Peabody Hotel, and most importantly, a teacher in the Memphis City school system. He was a band director at Fairview, Chickasaw, and Westside schools, as well as an instructor for the strings program here in Memphis. Here at Overton, he was the director of the jazz band a couple of years ago, but his biggest joy was teaching and sharing his gift with the youth of this school system. Today, I challenge you all to do some of the same things that will allow you to fulfill your dreams. First of all, recognize your gift. Like I said, all of you have one. You may be a great athlete. You may end up being a powerful person in the fashion industry. You may like to do hair. You may become a barber. You may be a strong vocalist. But each and every one of you has a gift. Whatever that gift is, turn it into your passion. Live it, breathe it, love it, perfect it, and become the best at it. You can. Then you will fulfill your dreams. You will find joy in pursuing your passion. It may not make you a lot of money, and it might make you a lot of money, but it will bring you success and happiness, and that's the most important thing. That's what Mr. Joyner did. He could hold a conversation with you while playing a song on the piano and not miss a note. He is no longer here, but the joy he shared through his music and his students will live forever. So now I ask that each and every one of you repeat after me. I recognize that I have a gift. It will become my passion. I will follow my passion. And I will fulfill my dreams. Thank you, Overton, for honoring Phil Joyner.
I want to thank everybody for coming out and for Brother David Ellis for letting us utilize the facilities and also his amazing, talented Catholic program. Give yourselves a round of applause, y'all. Extraordinary jazz orchestra. Y'all don't know how blessed y'all really are to help people like Maestro Goggett and Maestro Phil Joyner Jr. I also do Maestro Jeffrey Huddleston. Had the pleasure to work with all these gentlemen, and y'all a splendid group, because I think music education should be an educational right in this city. It's really a shame that we're under a man named Jimmie Lunceford, who started as the first high school band director at the city school level for black children, that there are not many schools in the city and county that have decent music education programs. This is a travesty. When you're doing the right thing, a lot of times you're going to look silly doing it. You're going to look foolish doing it. But it got to be done. Y'all deserve to have all the opportunities you have coming to you. You got to recognize your work. You got to know your values. You got to know that people care about you, support you. Maestro Goggett supports you. He believes in you, but you got to believe in yourself. Because it does not work without you believing in yourself. I'm going to tell you something, because I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. You know, Fannie Lou Hamer was born October the 6th. She said she was sick and tired of being sick and tired. I believe in you all. I'm a foolish guy, but I'm not stupid. And I see talent, I know talent, I hear talent. Phil Joyner Jr. was just like Jimmie Lunceford. I'm going to tell you why. They both were Geminis. You know, Phil was born June 2nd, 1959. Jimmie Lunceford was born June 6, 1902. But the thing about it is, Phil also flew his own airplanes. He had a pilot's license. Jimmie Lunceford had a pilot's license. He learned how to fly back in 1939. By 1940, during the Great Depression, he had enough money to buy his own airplane for $20,000. Back in 1939 would be like $350,000 today's money. So there was a black dude from North Memphis that took a group of young kids from Manassas High School and became the greatest swing band of his generation. 4 years after leaving Manassas High School, he ended up being the house band at the Cotton Club, right behind Duke Ellington and Cab Calloway. He was the #1 attraction at the Apollo Theater for a whole decade. He was the #1 band for black people to dance to in the country. Sometimes his dance sessions or events would have 50,000 dancers. This is a black dude from North Memphis that took some black kids from North Memphis to the heights of the music industry. And the reason why we got to celebrate him as we celebrate people like Phil Joyner Jr., they always gave the best of themselves back to the community. When he came back to Memphis, the sold-out auditorium at church, sold-out concerts at Church Auditorium, he will always go back to Manassas in North Memphis to do free concerts and musician clinics for the kids in North Memphis at Manassas High School. He did this throughout the country, starting music education programs to help build confidence and pride in young people. And he did this to the last day he died. He died young. Matter of fact, he believed in the village concept where he took care of the young and the old. Like before he died, he was looking for real estate to start a retirement community for black musicians. He died under questionable circumstances, July 12, 1947. He was signing autographs at a music shop right before a concert, and he dropped dead. So people believe it was food poisoning because he wanted to be served at a restaurant that didn't want to serve black people. He told them, we want hamburgers, we won't leave until we get served. They said, all right, we don't have no hamburgers, we got the roast beef sandwich for you. There was no Arby's back then. Arby's was invented in 1964. So they gave him the roast beef sandwiches, they ate it, the band members ate it. He dropped dead from eating the roast beef sandwich, allegedly. A lot of band members got sick during the concert. But here's the thing about Mr. Lunceford, you must remember. He could have been buried anywhere in the country. He chose to be buried in Memphis. He wasn't from Memphis. He was born in Mississippi, in Fulton. He was raised in Denver, Colorado. He had homes up in New York State, Stravers Row up in Harlem, Westchester, whatever. But he chose to be buried in Memphis. And Nat D. Williams said, I'm leaving this on your mind, I'm gonna let y'all go. But you can follow all the events on JimmieLunceford.com. said, let the burial place of Jimmie Lunceford in Memphis have significance for black people here in Memphis. Let's rally around his burial site. Let's remember the fact that he took a group of young black kids from North Memphis and made them one of the greatest music organizations in the music industry of that era. He never forgot where he came from. He chose to live among his people. He chose to serve his people. So we should never forget people like him. We should never forget people like Phil Joyner Jr., like Maestro Jeffrey Huston, like Maestro Dolly here. We should never forget anybody that choose to serve their people with the best of their abilities. So I thank you all from the bottom of my heart for coming out. In the words of Duke Ellington, we love you, matinee, and y'all keep on producing and pushing. Olay, what you doing? What you want to do? You do that? Okay, let's go. Let's go. Thank y'all. God bless y'all. Thank y'all.
The reason that Carla, and this is something that people don't know about Carla, is that Carla Thomas, everything she wears and most of the things she eats and the things she does is geared toward the black community. All of her clothes, she's been shopping for years with black people. That is something that a lot of people, especially when they get to be stars or they've traveled all over the world, they tend to patronize other people other than their own people. She has never ever left the community where she lives, where she eats, where she shops, who she goes around, the events that she goes to, the things that she does charitably. You know, when I was on the board at the Black Arts Alliance and I needed Carla to perform, she didn't say, well, what are you going to give me? She just showed up and performed. And she is a person that, as a musician, she loves to see other musicians perform. And when you see her performing at a lot of these places, it's just because she'll do it. She don't say, well, I got a certain price or I can't do it. She just will. And she's been performing most of her life. In fact, when we used to play and have the Park and Recreation Department on parks, and at Lincoln Park every year, they would have talent shows and they would have like the Olympic of Games. Carla would be there. You know, when her dad, when I was tap dancing at a very young age, Carla and I met because I knew her dad when he was a comedian with Rufus and Bones. So the friendship has always been, even though she was a young person, where most of us, all we have to do is just play and obey our parents or doing something. She was thrust into the limelight as a performer. You know, the Teen Town Singers were professionals. They used to have me on the radio tap dancing while they were singing. And all you'd hear, and I never understood it, all you'd hear would be our jingle taps on the radio when we'd be tap dancing after the Teen Town Singers sang. So we have a love for each other. She still shops with me, and even if she don't shop with me, we visit and we have these long conversations and we laugh about the changing times. But one thing we did know is music always stays the same. Music is the heart and soul of our people, and that you can make somebody happy, you can bring them out of a sadness, you can bring them out of depression or anything just by the sound of music. And what we have to do is we have to embrace and treasure those people that have been around for more than 50 years singing and bringing music to the heart and souls of us as a culture and as a people. Thank you, Mr. Hurd, for recording and trying to keep our culture in the music business alive and well.
Thank you so much. Do you have anything you want to say directly to Carla?
Well, you know, Carla is always going to be special in my heart because, number one, she's still just like it was 14 years old. She still laughs. She always sees the best of everything. And Carla still has trust and faith in the Lord. She does not have a telephone, don't want one. So communication is in person. If you can't communicate with her in person, you're never going to hear or talk to Carla. My girl. Forever and always, BFFs.
That's
Hear C.D. Kirk. We want to hear C.D. Kirk play the song. How many of y'all want ready for C.D. Kirk? All right, we're gonna have C.D. Kirk. Y'all in for a treat now. This man's a legend. I might do that later on, but I want to honor the right people today. We might do it. You gonna sing along with me? Yeah. All right, we'll see what we do. All right, this is Sidney Kirk. This is a Memphis soul treasure right here. This man, I'm gonna let him talk for himself.
Good morning. I didn't get up here to talk, actually. I'm waiting. What happened to the piano stool? Anyway, I'm gonna need a stool over there. I graduated from Manassas High School in 1961. That's a long time ago, y'all. I met Isaac Hayes when I was in the 9th grade in the old building, and we became very close friends. And we would go to the library and you know, read Ebony magazines and stuff like that because we couldn't afford to buy them. But they talk about, you know, who's performing somewhere. They said stuff like somebody's performing at Carnegie Hall or and Isaac would always say, yeah, when we go to Carnegie Hall, we're going to do this. Even when we go to Carnegie, he never said if, he always said when. And do you know what? We actually did go to Carnegie Hall. That's right. I mean, that might not sound like much to you, but if you get into playing any kind of performing, you will know that it's important for you to have confidence in yourself. Very important to have confidence in yourself. You need to know, first of all, find out what you like to do. Find out how much money is in what you like to do. Right. If it's not a field that pays a lot of money, don't go jumping out there. And you don't need to work at McDonald's. You know, you ain't gonna never get rich doing that, you know. And I don't know about how it feels to be rich anyway, you know, but I sure would like to find out. Oh, okay, so much for that. I'm gonna play something for you. But I'd like to call, I'm gonna do a couple of my original compositions, and I'm gonna call my daughter up and see if she'll sing. How about a hand for Kristen Dion Kirk?
No. Hey, y'all. Y'all don't know how nerve-wracking it is to sing for high school kids. How y'all doing? Y'all so beautiful. I'm just sharing the water I gave you 20 seconds.
Go water down there. I got some water.
Get some water. How y'all feeling this morning?
All right. How about you?
I'm good, girl. Okay, so this is my father, Sidney Kirk. He's been a musician here in Memphis for a very, very long time. Today we're going to sing some of his music that he wrote himself. This song was actually written before
I was born. How many of you have ever missed somebody? Show of hands. Ever had anybody you missed? Somebody you might be ashamed to admit you missed? All right. This song is called Missing You. Missing you. Lately that's all I've been able to do. Never had a pain like this when I had your need. Please hurry back to me. I love you, my dear. Missing you. And I long to see your sweet smiling face. How I long to feel your tender embrace. How I long to hold you close to me. And suddenly I realize that I love you. And suddenly I realize that I need you. I need you. Need you. Missing you. And I hope and pray that you're doing well. I sit and wait to hear you ringing, ringing my bell, baby. This missing you is just like it's sad, but it's true that all I can do is just miss you. Missing you. Thank you.
The title of this song is You're the Melody and I'm the Song. Now, who knows what a song is without a melody?
Rap music.
Sometimes it's a good poem, sometimes not a good poem. But all songs have to have rhythm and melody. There's nothing else, you got to have that, okay? So this is called You're the Melody and I'm the Song. You make my day a little bit brighter. You make my burden a little bit lighter. You make me happy whenever I'm near you. I love to hear you call my name, baby. I may be wrong, I think you're right for me. A love like this will last for eternity. Just loving you turns the winter to springtime. I'm the song, you are the melody. When I'm with you, there's nothing but harmony. We've got the kind of love I've waited for so long. You're the melody and I am the song. When we're apart, how slowly the hours fly. When with the kind of love I've waited for so long. You're the melody and I am the song. You're the melody, I am the song.